Okay? Is the room mic working? Those in the back? Okay. So wait, our panel decided not.
No, we're going to have them come after you.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, so I get to talk to you guys about Atlanta and what it's like to live in Atlanta. So the more fun, well, to me it's the more fun part. So a couple of quick things about Atlanta. It is a city, and it's got a really nice kind of central city part. So about 500,000 live in the city limits, but another 6 million total live in Metro Atlanta. So it's got a lot going on here. One of the things that is cool about it is the largest metro in the southeast U.S. And so we get a lot of people, transplants from all over the southeast that come and live here. Over half of Georgia population lives in Atlanta. It's a really big cultural and business center of the southeast. So I had not lived in the southeast before, so that's been an important thing for me. It is, well, most people will tell you a good reason to move here is because it's got a great airport. You can fly direct almost anywhere. I did learn recently they do not fly to Lubbock, Texas. So if you're going to Lubbock a lot, that might be a problem. But otherwise, you can fly a lot of places direct, which is really awesome, especially as graduate students, where you're going to start doing a lot more traveling with conferences and things like that. Also with winters, we don't have snow cancellations and all of that. When I lived in Chicago, I had to occasionally take a train places because I gave up on flying with all the snow cancellations. Yeah, so this is kind of the metro area, city limits there. One of the things that is really cool that people don't think of, because you usually think of our highways, is that we're actually a very green city. So they call it the city in the trees. So you can see how much more green we are than Houston, Boston, LA. So people really value that. You'll see that in Piedmont Park. There's trees blooming right now, so super pretty. And really there's an emphasis on making sure we maintain our tree coverage in Atlanta. So we're going to talk a little bit about the living situation, but the grad student panel will probably be better at answering your questions on this, so I'll go through this pretty quick. But people generally live north of downtown, so we're downtown south of us, then we have Midtown, and then Buckhead's above that. About 80% of students live within 3 miles of campus, with the top neighborhoods being West Midtown, which has really been growing, and probably this number is even lower or higher now than when we made this. Midtown, which is the area I live in, which is on the east side of campus, and then Atlantic Station, Collier Ridge area. So a lot of people live like really, really close to campus, which is really great. And there we go. So yeah, the top 5 choices there. So you can see how close they all are. They basically just surround campus. Actually, the College Park, Inman Park, we're going to actually get to go over to that kind of general area when we go to Lady Bird tomorrow. So I'm really excited you guys are actually going to get to see that part of town, which we don't always get to in these visits. So yeah, a lot of people are thinking about proximity to campus when they decide, which is not too much of a surprise. A lot of students share off-campus rental apartments. So this is the most common type of housing people do. Some share an off-campus rental home, and some also still live alone. But apartments are really the top choice. In Atlanta, a lot of them are 2-bedroom apartments. So different cities kind of have different ways they've been built over time. So in Atlanta, it's pretty common to do 2 people sharing a 2-bedroom apartment unit. But the details of this are highly varied, and so you'll get to talk to current grad students a lot over the visit weekend, and you'll probably hear lots of different living situations and get to hear about those kind of options. So they get to match your priorities. This is so I took out a lot of the old data, and I don't have the most pretty new data, so I apologize that, it's kind of iffy, but this was, I think, from the 2021 poll of CHB grad students, the average monthly housing costs. So a chunk will pay between $600 and $860 a month. The largest chunk is between $860 and $1120. And then $1120 to $1380 and $1380 to $1640, and not very many above that. And so this is kind of the average monthly housing cost. Again, it varies a lot, and it is changing. I mean, I'm sure you guys are all aware of this from everywhere in the news. Housing prices everywhere are going up a lot. So I tried to give you the most up-to-date data that I could find to help you understand that. I did a quick Zillow search to try to update some of the numbers as well on current housing costs that you can find. So Zillow is probably not the cheapest place to look for housing, so take it with a grain of salt. But I found 1-bedroom apartments ranging from, $1,059 to $2,500 a month. 2-bedroom apartments, again, that more standard one we work in, between $1,600 and $2,500 plus. Okay, you can always find the super expensive ones, so, we'll just kind of ignore that. 3-bedroom apartments ranging from about $2,225 to $4,000 a month. And I actually didn't find any 4-bedroom apartments or houses close to tech. So for the bigger houses, you might have to go further out to find those if you want to rent that. But of course, the averages only tell you so much. There's a huge range of costs that exist depending on the location, the amenities, and like the actual apartment size, right? Some of these 2 bedrooms are larger, some are smaller. But I tried to get the most up-to-date information that I could get, at least on Zillow. We do have grad housing on campus as well. It's not usually the cheapest option, but Georgia Tech does aim to be comparable options when it comes to space and amenities. So they try to stay with the market on space and amenities, but it's really, really good location, right? Really close to campus. So that's, pluses or minuses on that one. They do have the married and family housing, which can be convenient if you're bringing spouses and children. Let's see. Okay, how to find one. Lots of different websites that you guys can use. Like I said, I quickly looked on Zillow, but there's a home park rentals website supposedly, as well as a bunch of other ones that you can try to look for housing. Okay, one thing I want to point out as part of the housing discussion is the cost of living index. So I updated the cost of living index data for a number of towns and cities that are kind of more classic chemical engineering schools. So Atlanta here is highlighted in red. And so kind of the point to emphasize is Atlanta and Minneapolis are pretty comparable. So I know a number of you live in Minneapolis, so you might know what to expect on that. And they are the cheapest of the kind of more metropolitan areas. All of our kind of more competitor schools that I looked at that are in metropolitan areas are expensive. I'm going to go ahead and show you the plot without Stanford because Stanford makes it look completely insane. And we can just assume that's really expensive. And so you can really see that, we're kind of, not the cheapest. Obviously, you can get cheaper going to some of the more rural schools. But when it comes to cost of living index, we're pretty comparable, if a little cheaper, to other kind of big cities that are not your special pricey ones. And so I think hopefully that's a little helpful. One thing that I would recommend, if this is an important factor to you, you can go to these websites. I forget which one I found this on. But you can also look at like groceries and utilities and that level of detail. So this is the overall cost of living index, but you'd actually do the analysis with all the factors into it. And so if this is important to you, I recommend looking at that as well. I didn't have time to put together all of that data. And then navigating Atlanta when you move here. So, okay, we are famous for our freeways, for better or worse. They are not collapsed anymore. So, they rebuilt it. It exists. If you do live far from campus, you will need a car. It is, the further out places are not really public transitable. But closer in places, you can use MARTA. So mainly you have a north, south, and east-west line on MARTA. So if you're around those areas, it's very convenient to Georgia Tech. The closest one, I think it's about a 10-minute walk away, the Midtown MARTA station, and there's campus trolleys that go there. So MARTA is pretty useful if you're somewhere near one of the MARTA stations. Also by bike, a lot of people bike here. The bike infrastructure has been getting better and better and better. I know a number of faculty who live like way out even in Grant Park and who bike here every day, and so that's becoming more of an option. So the restaurant we're going to for dinner tomorrow night is along the Beltline, so you get to see what the Beltline is, but that's a really popular route for people to bike to campus as well as just kind of for fun. Okay, so this might be a good pause, maybe before I move on to the rest of it and let you guys ask some questions on the housing stuff before I move on to the rest of the fun part of living in Atlanta. Yes?
Would you please go back to the slide where you have different websites?
Yes, I will admit I did not go check to make sure all of these still function. So yeah, I probably should do that before I do this one again next year. I forget like small websites go away sometimes, right? But yes, there are probably some better ones. Maybe the grad students can help me update this for next year. Yep, other questions on the housing? Yes?
What's the on-campus parking?
So compared to places I've lived before, it's slightly on the cheaper side, but this is comparing it to Chicago and Boston, and way more available. So other places I've lived, it's really hard to get parking spots with some of these urban universities, and I have not heard any complaints from my students, and they don't treat faculty special. We're in the same pool to compete for parking, and so I think it's pretty easy to get it. Do you guys remember or have opinions on like the pricing and stuff? I don't remember anymore because we pay in the summer, so.
For 800 a year.
800 a year-ish? Yeah, so it's about 800 a year. They have a new option now where you can pay like a lower fee, Smart Park, and then do you like get a discount?
I mean, that's what I use as a
Okay.
car park, and it's like basically $25 for the year, and you can purchase like individual day pass parkings, and they boil down to like $6 per parking pass. And so it kind of depends. So like if you're close enough to campus to like ride a bike or something like that, then that might be the best option because maybe for some reason you do need to park on campus, but like, okay, that's better to pay $6 for when you need to versus, like $400 for
Yep.
once in a while. So I know for me that works out pretty well because I kind of commute the carpool to campus, so it's definitely a lot cheaper than a full parking.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Kind of on that same note, what about parking in like the apartments? Like coming from LA, parking is like very important spots.
So why don't you guys take that one as well, actually. All the apartments near me basically have parking available, and it's like a big thing you definitely need to have, but I don't know in the student area.
I think it's pretty available. I know sometimes like you pay extra for parking in your apartment. Like I know I do at my place. And like in home park area, like right north of campus, usually a lot of apartments there is street parking, just like $20 a year. So if you don't mind parking on the street, it's fine. But I haven't heard anyone have problems using apartments.
Yeah, in Chicago, I had to pay $200 a month to park at my building where my apartment was. So campus was only $45 a month, so I just left my car on campus. But here that is not, I've not heard anything like that. I mean, most places, they're not likely to successfully build it and get people to move there if they don't provide parking. So, yes, I saw, yes.
How do most students find roommates?
I met mine during visit weekend. So basically, like I think y'all met like a group or something, and people like message like, "Hey, is anyone looking for roommates?" And then we just connected.
So I met my grad school roommate as well.
There are also groups in Facebook and sometimes in Telegram where you can connect to more people who come up.
Yeah, like in the
Not necessarily from CHP, like you have a lot of people who just come to Georgia Tech, so there are multiple groups you can just find people.
Yep. Yes.
Is there a group meet for this visit weekend?
I don't know. Do you guys have a group meet? I'm old. I don't use it.
It's your job. You can make one.
We have a Facebook group for y'all, and then afterwards we can set up a group meeting for you guys, and then.
We have one.
I think someone, I heard yes.
Yeah, here.
is that part of the Facebook?
Here.
Is that part of the Facebook? Yeah. Maybe not.
I don't have a Facebook.
I could
But-
go in. No, I can share it.
Yeah, anyone who's in the group.
Awesome. Yes. No. Those are very helpful ways to do it for sure. Okay. I thought I saw another question somewhere else earlier. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move on, but definitely I'm sure you have lots of other thoughts on housing. Talk to the grad student panel as well as students throughout the visit weekend to learn more about it.
Yeah, we'll sorry, I know we're sitting here, but we'll bring them here.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to give people a chance to ask questions while it was fresh before we do that. Okay, so one of the nice things in Atlanta, as you hopefully have seen so far, is our weather is awesome. We have mild winters and warm summers. The summers are not as bad as you might expect if you're not from this area. Atlanta is at a little bit of elevation, And so we still get the kind of a cooler drop in temperatures overnight. And, you know, my family's from Kansas, and their summers are definitely worse than here. So put it into a little context. So it's really great for outdoor sports and recreation. I do open water swimming in the summer in the lakes in the area. So lots of fun stuff to do. There's no one wet season in Atlanta, so we get the sun all year round, but we also do get rain, you know, all year round as well. So lots of recreation things to do. So you'll see Piedmont Park tomorrow. I live right next to it. It's a great place with the botanical garden. There's also a ton of great state parks in Georgia that are very accessible from Atlanta. There's lots of athletic organizations if you're into playing sports, different sports facilities that you can go do, including our own on campus, but you know, for broader interest. There's the Chattahoochee River, so you can go tubing on the river, all sorts of fun stuff like that. I think a lot of students organize tubing trips when it's the right time of year for that. I hear a lot of talk about that. I do kayaking in some of the lakes around here. I have an inflatable kayak, so lots of fun stuff to do there. Yeah, the lakes I swim in, Allatoona, and then the CRC. Another nice thing is, you know, Atlanta's proximity to everywhere in the Southeast. So it's a really centrally located hub for the Southeastern US and the Midwest. So it's actually only an 8-hour drive to St. Louis and 10.5-hour drive to Chicago. We're always surprisingly like further west than you think. And so it makes it like really convenient to get to a lot of places. Yeah, I mentioned the altitude already, so you get these nice daytime, nighttime temperature changes. Going a little further away with outdoor recreation, we have Kennesaw Mountain, which is more of a hill, but it's really close. We have the North Georgia Mountains, which are actually really nice, so it's only like an hour or two away. Great for like a weekend retreat. You need a break, just want to be outside for a while. There's National Park about 3 hours away. Yeah, more mountainy stuff. There's also a lot of ocean beaches not too far away. Well, I'm from Kansas, so the closest one to that is like 12 hours. So I think 3.5 to 5 hours is great. Savannah, Georgia, and coastal Georgia, and then you have like Destin and the Florida Panhandle, so that's pretty accessible, about 5 hours away. Get to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Orange Beach, Alabama, and then of course the state parks. So the Beltline, I'm not going to talk about too much on that, but we're going to Lady Bird, so you get to see it. But the Beltline is awesome, really fun, fun to walk on. Really, what I like about it is that they put tons of great bars and restaurants on there since I moved here, because, you know, it's a great place people like to go. So that's what I usually use it for. Other things to do in Atlanta, so the aquarium. So when you have family come visit, they always want to do something, right? And so the aquarium is the thing you take them to, as well as the World of Coke, which is right next door, and is mostly a commercial, but has good Coke to taste. Pond City Market, which I think is one of the options tomorrow as well. So it's a fun like shopping and food hall area in a historic building, also located on the Beltline. There's Six Flags, so if you like amusement parks, that is an option, as well as it looks like a water park as well. And then we have a lot on like the cultural and history side, and that's another one of the nice things in Atlanta. We have the Carter Center and the Presidential Library, as well as the Martin Luther King Center, which is a museum, I think, yes, and the Civil Rights Museum, which is the really nice one. And then, okay, I don't know why I put World of Coke on this slide, but I guess it's a cultural thing too. It's just a different kind of cultural thing. So lots of great things to do in your free time, as well as, you know, when you have friends and family visit. Yeah, Atlanta is one of America's cultural capitals. Much of Atlanta identity is driven by rich Black history and culture. So it is nearly 30% Black-owned businesses, according to the U.S. Census. So lots of great Black-owned businesses to go to throughout the city, and really you feel the contributions to the city's culture. And I think that's made it a really nice place to live, for me at least. So. We have sports, obviously. The Braves won the World Series, so you know everyone hopefully has kind of heard of that. Atlanta United is really the big one around here because it's like it makes it feel more in town and downtown. So it's a soccer team. The Braves are kind of in the suburbs, but you know those are my opinions on the divisions. But we have football and basketball as well. Georgia Tech has sports. I have been to a football game, and then lots of other things. Yeah, so we have a theater, so if you're more into the arts scene, the Fox Theater brings in a lot of awesome shows, so I've gone to a few there. There's big concerts, and hopefully starting again in amphitheaters. We have a really nice art museum, kind of close in the same area of town as Piedmont Park. And they have a really nice symphony and opera and ballet and all of the things you would expect. So if you're into arts, lots of really excellent opportunities there. Dining, so basically you can get whatever food you want. If you can't find it here, it either doesn't exist and you made it up, or you didn't try very hard. There is a really nice area, I think it's like maybe 15 minutes away, Buford Highway, which is where all the best international food is. Although since I moved here, more has come into Midtown. And so we're getting more international options right in Midtown rather than just going to Buford Highway, but Buford Highway is definitely the top place to go for food. But if you like to cook, you know, in addition to your regular grocery stores where there are many, many, many of them around, there's also a lot of great international grocery stores, so I've shown those on the map. And so you can get all sorts of different food if you like to cook yourself instead of going out. And then the fun stuff. So I'm sure the current grad students can give you a better update on the actual fun things to do these days. I live in Midtown, so I don't go to either of those places, but I go to other places in Midtown, so there's definitely some good nightlife there. Buckhead is where I kind of joke like all the finance bros live. And so, you know, it's north of us a little bit where all the people who work for like SunTrust Bank live and stuff like that. And so there's a high density of restaurants and nice places, you know, different things for different people. Virginia Highland has a lot of restaurants and bars as well, and then Little Five Points area is more, I guess, the counterculture. I don't know if it's really counterculture, but it's, you know, the more fun, kind of quirky places. And then I'm sure, again, the current students can tell you really where the good places are these days. So that's my spiel. I want to introduce you to all of these awesome things, and now I'll let them come and be the student panel.
Thank you. All right, so we have the amazing panelists here.
I have a mic if you guys want to pass it around
Okay.
as you talk.
So I think maybe like the best thing to do is like if you guys could just introduce yourself, what year you are, maybe where you live, and then we could just it's just open to you guys. Whatever questions y'all have, feel free to ask them.
Okay, hey everyone, I'm Nikki. I'm a third-year graduate student, and I work in the Conning Lab, and I live in Virginia Highlands, so not one of the like most lived-in places, but I think there are other students live there, and I really love the area.
Hi, I'm Henry. I'm a first-year CHP student. I work in Natalie Singland's lab, and I live in Oak Park.
Hello, my name is Caleb. I'm also a first-year CHP grad student, and I live in Smyrna, Georgia, so it's about 20 minutes from here, so that's where I pretty much grew up and so I can use years.
Well, yeah, I have some questions. I could ask some more. I think the best thing is I'll open it to you guys. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask them first.
What's the worst thing about Georgia Tech?
It's a great question. Pretty sure everyone has a different answer for that, I can imagine. I would say for me, the worst thing about Georgia Tech is probably just the first semester of grad school and having to kind of balance all the classes with trying to get up to speed with my research, which may or may not be a problem for you all coming in, because that's a little bit depending on the professor that you have. Other than that, honestly, I love it here. I have no complaints. It's a great school, it's a great area, so yeah.
Yeah, I guess this is less about Georgia Tech, but Atlanta in general, but I feel like I was very used to driving the traffic, and now I despise that. So most likely I'll do my bike avoiding that.
Basically just secondary answers. I think at Georgia Tech, my least favorite thing was first semester and just the class, the course load. I found the classes difficult, and I think anyone who got in here and who got into other places will find, if they find the classes difficult here, you'll find the classes difficult at the other schools you go to, so it's not a uniquely Georgia Tech situation. But once you get past your first semester, things are a little smoother sailing. And then, yeah, the traffic is not great, but I don't mind driving, and I do drive to campus, so I've gotten used to it, and it's not a big deal for me anymore.
Yeah, actually, if you guys can also just say like how you get to campus. So you drive, and then you
Bike/walk.
bike/walk. Okay, just perspective. Yeah. Yes.
Did you get the advisor you wanted?
Okay, yeah, so you guys can answer this, but we do have a graduate student panel tomorrow that you guys can ask like academic specific questions, I suppose, but feel free to answer. But we would like this to be more towards like Atlanta. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I did get my first choice Tech.
Me too.
Same, yeah.
That was easy. Yes.
How expensive is it to go to like sporting events around Atlanta? Or do any of you guys have, I guess, opinions about it?
By sporting events, you mean like Braves games, Falcons games,
Whichever ones you go.
Lady United? It depends. I mean, it's not like super expensive to like get tickets to watch the Falcons or Braves game or anything like that. I mean, of course, you start getting into playoffs and Super Bowl championship games. Of course, the prices get jacked up during those times. But even with that, though, I mean, if you're open to like going out with some friends and watching the game in like a bar or something like that, that's pretty much all in Atlanta. So you can always find a good place to go to watch a game. But if you want to actually attend the event, I mean, the prices aren't extremely bad. But of course, if you start getting into like championship stuff, then yeah, put some taxes on that. But otherwise.
I think the Braves had a subscription service that you could do. I know somebody who did it, and so you could like the day of you could get extra cheap seats, and you just join this like kind of cheap subscription program.
The Hawks have the same thing, basketball. So it's like $10 for like hold on. I think that's right. $10, like same day, like tickets, and they're almost always like available for home games, of course. And yeah, the seats aren't the best, but it's fine.
You're not going to do a 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Would you guys be able to disclose how much you pay in rent? How much you guys pay in rent?
Yeah, I don't mind. I live in a one-bedroom apartment, just me, and I pay $12.95. I definitely prioritize living in a really nice place. I love my apartment and my neighborhood so much. When I first came here, so I'm a third year student, my first year, I paid a lot less, and it wasn't as nice, so I decided I wanted something nicer.
Yeah, I pay $7.20 a month for a 2-bedroom, but it's like a 10-minute walk from campus. So.
And so I live with my family, so I don't have to pay rent, which is so wrong person asked that question. Next question.
I would like to live in an apartment, like walking distance from the campus. Like, are there like well-known apartments to live around campus?
I know. I mean, there are definitely several apartments right around like right around campus. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but there are definitely several options. I'm pretty sure that some probably listed in the slide.
I say I put the Georgia Tech owned ones up again, but I definitely know multiple students of mine don't have cars, and they do live walking distance nearby.
But pretty much, if you have a concern with trying to get an apartment place that's like within walking distance to campus, if you're not able to get transportation, like you'll have plenty of that.
Within 1 mile, like you have apartments here at Midtown, so that's a direct walk. You have so many student housing options, so like there is 100 Midtown that's specifically for students. So it has everything included, like you have all the utilities, everything put up with a specific value, and it's a bit cheaper if you go to the student housing, because you also get your parking free and everything like that. Or you could go to residential places that's there on that side, that's the downtown, near the downtown places you have some good residential places. Or you can go to Atlantic Station where you also have some good residential places and you have student housing there. Or you can choose West Midtown where you again have some good options. So like all of these are within 1 mile from the campus.
Thank you. Did you guys want to
Is your work-life balance good enough that you can go do the things that are like 2 to 3 hours away? on weekends?
Depends on the week. I'll let somebody else.
I've taken like day trips, like 2 or 3 hours driving, maybe like two or three times over since starting here. I'm first year since last fall. But also keep in mind that I feel like first semester is like the busiest one. So, but also I don't know, I don't tend to do that. I guess if I did have time, kind of like just stay at home.
I think the answer is yes, but not always. I go into lab on average every day, but like just for a little bit of time on the weekend, just to check on things, whatever. So I just need to plan ahead if I choose to not go into lab on the weekend at all. I don't spend like multiple hours in the lab usually on the weekend. But yeah, if you plan ahead, like on average, maybe a weekend trip once every 2 months or something is definitely doable.
There's a question in the back.
When you guys first moved to Atlanta, how did you decide where to live, and did you have a separate trip after the recruitment trip to kind of find apartments, or did you do it on the fly?
I am from North Carolina, so not too far away, so I was able to come down once I decided to come here to check out the neighborhoods. I think it was really nice to do that, and also once I moved again and I was living in Atlanta for over a year, I knew even more where I wanted to be. So I think if you have the means, it's really nice to be able to do that and drive around or walk around the neighborhoods to see what you like. But I don't think it's necessary. I think like the Facebook groups where you can connect up with other students, also people can share where they live, where they have apartments, and so you can get some information based on that and like from this presentation.
Yeah, so my visit weekend was virtual, so I saw, I guess, campus for the first time over the summer when I came to look for apartments. Although, so I was here for like maybe 2 days looking at places, and then in the end, where I ended up living was a place I never even saw when I was here in person. So I think it helps like being here in person to look for places, but you definitely don't have to.
I'm from Atlanta, so there was no moving process.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering like approximately how many hours do you work in the lab per week, and like whether do you guys work during the weekend or not?
Yeah, I think generally in my lab people don't work on weekends, and I think kind of how many hours you spend a week per lab kind of I guess varies based on your deadlines or I guess your own personal schedule as well. So I feel like I usually, I'm also taking classes right now. So I feel like total I spend like around 50 hours a week maybe doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I also spend on average 50 to 55 hours a week in the lab. I spend the full day on weekdays in the lab. I don't get in super early, but I stay kind of late. So it's really nice to be able to just make your own schedule. Sometimes, I don't know if all like PIs kind of let you do that, but my PI is very flexible in terms of timing. And then on average, I do come into the lab every day just to check on things, including the weekends, but probably on average 1 hour for Saturday and Sunday combined. Unless I have like a really crazy week and I just need to spend more time in the lab, which is not super often.
I think the main answer is that it definitely depends. It depends on your advisor, it depends on the week too, because sometimes you might have a deadline coming up and you have to really get in there and crank something out. But in general, as far as weekends go, like your schedule tends to be up to you. Like you kind of can set your own schedule. And so like I do come in on the weekends, but like for me, like I kind of have a rule where Thursdays are like my off days, quote unquote. Don't tell my advisor.
I do the same thing, actually. I have a random weekday that I don't do a lot of work, and I work one of the weekends.
So Thursday is the day that like I'm not coming to campus, don't ask me to do anything, like I'm relaxing that day. But I do come in Saturdays, and then sometimes I have to come in Sundays in the evening just to like check on a sample or something like that. But it's really up to you though and how you kind of set your schedule. So.
Yeah, and to put it in context, I worked in industry research after my PhD, and we had to log every hour that we worked and charge them to projects, and I was typically between 45 and 50 hours a week. And if I were to have stayed there and moved up in the chain, it would have been more 50 to 55. And so I think, sounds like you guys are working fairly similar to what like a research job is anywhere.
Just like outside of Georgia Tech, like the campus, I mean, who are you spending time with, and where are you spending your time kind of? Like, are you connected, are you close with like your kind of department cohort? Are you guys getting together to do activities, and some examples of that?
So actually, all three of us are first years, and so we bonded pretty heavily in our first semester. I would definitely admit, so we hung out a lot. We've had game nights, staying up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. We've gone to the Painted Duck, I think, like twice now.
I lost count.
But it's kind of up to you guys at least. So like when you all come in, like how well you kind of bond with each other and kind of build that camaraderie is really up to you. But I know that for us, like we were pretty, like all of us kind of really desired that. I don't know if kind of COVID and coming out of that a little bit played a role. But we've had several times where we got together, had a really great time. And I know there's intramural sports teams as well that people have joined. I know I think they're in the throes of basketball, if I'm not mistaken.
Playoffs, baby.
Oh, we made it to the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go. But there are plenty of opportunities for socializing, having a great time, and just kind of getting out and exploring the city too. So yeah,
Yeah, so I agree that like, I feel like, especially maybe like 2 or 3 friends like in the cohort became very close, and like almost every weekend it's like, oh, maybe we should cook dinner, hang out, whatever. I think also in my lab it's pretty social. Like we're going out to a bar this afternoon, and then also again on Monday night. So should be fun.
Yeah, their lab has meetings at the bars. Let's. We join them sometimes too, but.
I'm at 3:30 right now, so. So yeah, I think within the cohort, and I feel like the majority of my friends are through Georgia Tech. So.
Yeah, being a third year, I'm not as close to my incoming class anymore as I was my first year. We definitely bonded a ton during the first semester, going to classes. It's a really supportive atmosphere, so it was great. But now I'm a lot closer to my lab mates. We do social things on the weekends, cook, and we don't go to bars too much. Some people don't drink, so there's options for you if you don't drink as well. And then I have met like other people through other community activities in Atlanta as well. So my friend group is diverse in that way.
Yep.
So previously when you guys were giving numbers for how much hours you work, was that also like hours you spent on reading papers or doing like not necessarily lab related activities, but like supporting stuff you need to do, like in building and work?
Yeah, for me that was, I am really bad at getting work done when I'm home, so I do all my work in the lab, and if I have to stay late in the lab, then I will, and like just work at my desk. So usually once I go home, I'm done for the day. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can do that, and then just put more hours in, which are.
yeah, same pretty much.
2 questions. So do you guys have time to like, I guess, go to the gym or like do your own sort of like self-care type of shit? And then also, do you have like the money to go out and like, I guess go to a nice restaurant every now and then? Or is that like sort of prohibitive inside?
Definitely not prohibited. That's for sure.
Why do you think I spent so much time talking about all these things? Because the students tell me they do these things.
Yeah, I think the answer to both those questions is yes. I exercise, and go to the gym 3+ times a week, full exercise routine, I guess. Yeah, I enjoy going out to dinner, getting takeout at nice places, so it's not an issue.
Yeah. I feel like I tend to cook at home a lot, just because I almost prefer that over a restaurant a lot of the time. But yeah, I definitely I'll usually go out in the mornings, maybe 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And it really kind of depends on how your setup is too. So for me, I kind of work out in my office space, just throughout the day, just to kind of make sure I'm staying active. But as far as being able to have time to just do what you like to do, you'll have to do that. So like just to kind of give an example, like I'm a musician, and so like I make time to like have rehearsals and practice with the band, and sometimes we'll have gigs and stuff like that too. So like I'm able to do that on top of like what I have going on for school. So it's very possible to have a good work-life balance. I mean, there might be some seasons where you're like, all right, I've got deadlines coming up, I've got to make some sacrifices here. You might have to deal with that, but in general, yeah, as long as you're kind of keeping a close grip on your schedule, you can always factor that.
Did I agree where you work out in your office?
Can I add on to that a little bit? Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've been learning and still learning is that like when it comes to free time and like work-life balance, it's really up to you. And you will see in a lot of our answers that it depends, it's really flexible and up to you. And that's kind of the gist of everything, including your work-life balance. I found that if I'm not super paying attention to my schedule and don't actively set out free time, I'll often miss my own self-care time. So I think also that's kind of a part of growing up. You need to learn how to take care of yourself and actively set time apart from it. But as long as you're being conscious about that and kind of put an effort to schedule things ahead of time or like budget ahead of time, I think it's completely doable. But learning to do that can be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think once you get the hang of it, it's completely possible.
Well, and I'll add, you know, students may not always notice this about the faculty here, but most of the faculty here have strong work-life balance. Most people, whether it's families or sports or whatever they do in their free time, most faculty are themselves cognizant of this and have learned how to do this kind of stuff. And so they are, you know, going to hear you from that perspective. And so again, I don't know that we always show it to the students as well as we should, because they see us looking really tired. But we, you know, most of the faculty in this department are themselves very cognizant and thinking about this in their own lives. So we'll hear you when you have those concerns.
Yeah, also to add something, I mean, it's not like always easy and it's not all perfect. So we all said, yes, we do have time for these things, but like I don't really socialize during the week. I mean, I see my lab mates and like I hang out and have a good time in the lab, but like I don't have time to have dinner with people and exercise and like do self-care all and like get enough sleep and go to the lab every day. So yeah, it's not it's not easy and it's not perfect. So
What is your favorite thing about living in Kennesaw?
favorite thing? I really love the neighborhood I live in. I think I've said that a couple of times now. But Virginia Highlands is really nice. I enjoy going to the like little local farmers markets there, and they have a lot of good cafes and restaurants. So that area is my favorite.
Yeah, I think I like being able to be like living in a city, but also having a lot of like I guess things to do outdoors as well. So like remember when I first got here, like maybe the second weekend I drove up like an hour and went hiking. Also, I like to bike a lot, and there are a lot of like nice trails that I'll go take my bike up and go for a couple hours on the weekend and stuff. So I guess combining that with also having like an urban environment is really nice.
I've been here so long that I'm kind of over it now. I'm just kidding. I do love the city. But I guess for me, my answer is a little different. Just because like the biggest thing for me is kind of like the music scene, so to speak. Like there's always, like once I kind of got exposed to the world, I realized that there's just so many opportunities to get like random little gigs perform here, perform there. And so that for me, just kind of being opened up to that has been pretty dope. So yeah.
Any other questions? Can I ask you guys about like what you feel about safety on campus and like around Atlanta in general? Maybe you can comment about where you live and if there were, I guess like if that factored into like choosing where you decided to live.
I'm gonna kill the list after this. Obviously, with any place that you go and living like in an inner city, so to speak, there are certain dangers that you might have to look out for. But as far as on campus goes, honestly, on campus is perfect. Like in my opinion, I think it's a very, very safe campus. They have a high like police presence, and so like that's never like you will start to get like if you like do choose to come here, you'll start to get like notifications because they'll alert you if there's anything that happens even around the campus and like the just off campus vicinity. And so you'll get like an email or a text, they call them like GT alerts. And they'll let you know if there has been any like incident or somebody like got shot or if there was robbery or something like that. So they'll let you know when those things happen, but like almost like 10 times out of 10, it's always off campus. So on campus is usually not an issue. And even like when it comes to traveling off of campus, a lot of these GT alerts that we get, most of them don't involve Georgia Tech students. It's usually people like residentials that maybe have gotten into or something like that. And so when you're traveling off campus, the best thing to do is just, for one, travel in groups if you can. And then also, like, if it's like the middle of, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, don't just travel down some random back alley or something like that. I would definitely travel in well-lit places. But otherwise, just kind of be alert, like just pay attention to your surroundings, and for the most part, that will kind of, I think, protect you the most. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way, like, especially on campus is totally fine. So I mentioned I lived in Home Park, which I guess kind of has a reputation for being not the safest, but I think that's kind of an older, I don't know. So I really don't feel that much nowadays. I wouldn't walk, like, I guess, through my neighborhood at night super often, but I also live, like, I can basically see the police station from my house, so I think it's pretty fun too.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think just being smart, not walking alone at night, those kind of things. But just worth saying, like as a woman on campus and like in the city, I feel very safe.
So I have a question, because I'll have to update this. Where do students actually hang out now for like bars and restaurants? Because I feel like this is not correct. And I got this from someone else, I'm going to adjust it a little bit, but where do students hang out now? Because I feel like West Midtown's become like so big, right?
Yeah,
but like, I feel like something there is missing.
Anywhere, I usually go to West Midtown.
Yeah. Okay.
There are a lot of bars in that area, and restaurants and drinks. So I would say, at least for me, I guess it depends on where you live, but I feel like the areas in West Midtown are kind of where I go.
And yeah, I would also say it depends on what you're looking forward to. Because it depends on what kind of night of fun you're going for. Like, there's like Top Golf and things like that around here. Like Painted Duck is like, it's like a bowling alley, but it's like a bar at the same time. Although it's like, they call it duck bowling, so they're like really tiny pins. So if you went there and it's like, oh, it's a bowling alley, it's not the same thing. I apologize. But it just kind of depends on what you're going for. There's countless bars, countless places where you can get good food, restaurants, and entertainment places as well. So, but I think that just varies depending on the person and what the activities are.
Did you guys want to add anything specific?
You will go to Cypress Street every once.
You mean at least once a week, right?
Yes.
That's when I'm usually there, at least once a week, so.
$3 house beer, which you really can't beat. It's like nothing fancy, but it's nice when you're like done with the week or done with the day and you just want to call out friends. And get
I was there yesterday, so like 9 p.m., so, yep.
You'll always see somebody protect there, no matter what time, what day you go.
All I'm saying is we set a tradition this year and you guys have to keep it going. So at the end of your very last final, in your first semester, you have to go literally straight from the final exam, straight to the bar. Come that out.
Yes.
What is your favorite restaurant and your favorite bar?
I had to pass my
Favorite restaurant's hard. I try not to go to the same place many times, so I'm going to think about that one. Favorite bar, I guess it's like technically a brewery. I don't like go for the nightlife scene, but there's a brewery a little closer to downtown called Halfway Crooks. I really like their beer. They have a super nice like, it's not a patio necessarily, but like it's their second floor, but it's like free flowing air, I guess. I don't know about restaurant though. Yeah, sorry. Thoughts now?
I mean, I don't have a favorite. As she said, I like to try different places all the time. But I know there is as far as bar, like also kind of like more of a brewery kind of vibe. But there's a place called Gold Monk Brewery, which is like barely. I see hands in the back. Yes, it's a solid spot. That's your favorite. It's a great place. They've got amazing beer, and they've got great food. They have this Brussels sprout appetizer that's like the best. It's the best. So just recommendation. But there's tons of that. So it's going to be hard to name a favorite, but if you're ever looking for a spot, reach out.
I guess it was mentioned in the presentation, but the Buford Highway area has a lot of really great international Asian food, so I had a lot.
Yeah, that's where my favorite restaurants are, like that Buford or like Doraville, who is like just north of campus, about 30 minutes or so.
So it looks like whatever is in here at 3:30 is starting to show up, so we should probably start
Thank you guys.
closing up.